All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. November 19th. Happy Sunday to everyone out there. We got a decent-sized NBA slate to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these NBA games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'm going to give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games, but all my final plays, if you do want to fade me, shout out fademe.store. If you do want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment, guys. Last night, I don't really know what to make of it. I feel like we had some good looks, but we go 1-3. That same game parlay for plus 210 odds. That womp-womps for Brook Lopez. We needed 4 rebounds out of the dude. One more rebound, and we cash plus 210 over on FanDuel for the same game parlay. It was only a half unit play because the odds are so crazy, but that would have swung the night into a more positive direction. A 1-3 night versus a 2-2 night with a plus 210 hit would have been so different. But nonetheless, guys, hopefully we bounce back today. We've been heating up lately, but this sort of look, the 1-3 night, is all too familiar this season because a couple weeks ago, that seems like what we were plucking out of the ground every single day. And our ride of the day also does not come through. Another womp that early in the video. It was a good look coming in from Parlay Pirate. Said he was 1-0 in ride of the day so far. And I was like, let's go for it, man. Let's ride Dallas plus 110. Now, we got to recognize that it was a plus money play, right? So it's kind of a risky play there. But they end up losing that game by a few points. Good game. Luka has a good game. Kyrie has a good game. Giannis has a good game. Like it was kind of the game that we'd hoped to see. I even said in yesterday's video, I was like, that's such a high total, right? I think it was like 245 and a half, but I was like, it's got to seem like it is going to go there. I think Giannis had 40, Lillard had 27, Kyrie and Luka almost had 40 each. Good game, just on the wrong side with the ride of the day. But if you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a pick. Let's get back on the win train. I'm picking one person's play in the comments, jumping on board with that pick, and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Now, before we get into the show today, I do want to talk about the Fade Me store, guys. We have our, I guess you could call it holiday, Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale live on the site right now. So if you've been waiting or on the fence about buying some merch, now is literally the time to do so. All t-shirts, we have up to 40% off. I think most of them right now are sitting at $19.99 or $18.99 as well. We also have another deal, and these are all already in there, but for the t-shirts, that's hard marked, right? But the deal that we have for the hoodies is if you use code BFHOOD, so Black Friday hood, BFHOOD, you can buy a hoodie and get a hat 50% off. So two sort of deals that we have going on for the next couple of days here. So head over to fademe.store. That link will be in the pinned comment. Again, t-shirts already discounted, no code needed, but for the hoodie and hat deal, just use code BFHOOD and you can get a hoodie for full price, but you get a hat 50% off. Go check it out, guys. Really good deal. We haven't really done anything like this as of late since launching the store. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. We have Brooklyn hosting Philadelphia. Philadelphia has kind of been, I guess, a little bit rocky. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, but they did come back and take that game against Atlanta before their 2-day break here. Brooklyn coming off of a loss to Miami 3 days ago. Brooklyn hasn't been the best of home teams here. They're 3-3 at home on the season, but they are a great against the spread team. 9-2-1 this season against the spread. It just so happens they're going up against an absolute NBA force right now in this Sixers team. They're 3-1 on the road, 9-3 on the year, 9-3 against the spread. I'll take the Sixers all day long in this spot. The only thing that worries me, and you guys know I'm all about line reading, and even if I do fall for the trap, I like to give you the context. This line to me should be a little bit higher, so not much higher, but I'm surprised that it's at 4 and a couple sportsbooks at 3.5. Now, is it because Brooklyn seems to keep games close? Sure, but again, they're not the best home team. In terms of this head-to-head matchup in the last couple of years here, dating back to last year, Philadelphia is 8-1 dating back to 2022 against Brooklyn. So this should be a cleanup spot for Philadelphia to kind of get 2 wins in a row here and get the win train back on track. But that line worries me a little bit. Again, I've seen 3.5 on some sportsbook. We see 4 on most, but keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we roll with. But to me, anyway, I look at this, it is going to be a Philadelphia spot. In terms of a total here, 223. Again, I keep telling you guys, I think people think, and Vegas seems to still kind of sometimes think that this is a slowish, Sixers team, but they're really not. Like, this is a high-paced team, and again, this back half of November is when I tell you guys, books might be behind, but we have enough data from the season now to make some educated bets. I like the over 223 in this spot as well. I think that I've seen it at 224 in other books as well, so it's maybe moving in that direction. So if you got 223 and you like the over, maybe you jump on that sooner rather than later. But yeah, give me Philly minus 3.5 in the over 223. All right, next up, we have Toronto laying 6.5 at home, albeit, but against the Detroit Pistons here. The Pistons have lost a million in a row, right? They're 2-11 this year, but it's still crazy. They're 6-7 against the spread. They covered against the Cavs, like I told you they would, just barely, but they did. And they've covered in 3 of their last 5 games. It's kind of crazy because they've lost 10 or plus straight, right? You do have Toronto on this other side of things that, covered against the Celtics a couple nights back, but did catch the loss. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but 2 of those games were against Boston. Then they lost against Milwaukee. They did win the game that they should have against Washington, but they're really not covering as of late. 3 of their last 4 games here, they failed to cover the spread. So I don't know. Is it a psycho alert alarm worthy type spot? I think I lean towards Detroit yet again in this spot. Now, my graphic is behind. It's minus 6.5. Now that I even look at the updated spread, Detroit's getting 9 points. So I'm assuming maybe somebody got ruled out. I doubt this becomes an actual final play, but Detroit plus 9 in this spot. I don't think I can look past it. They already covered against Cleveland. I think Cleveland's a little bit better than Toronto. So give me Detroit here. Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy. We sound the alarm, but I think it could be a decent spot there. In terms of the total, 217.5, I think it's a pretty fair line. I don't really see either team being an offensive juggernaut here, both in the bottom 10 when it comes to field goal percentage, field goal attempts as well. These aren't the fast-paced teams that we've seen, other teams here on this late. So I'm going to lean towards the under 217.5, and I think that actually helps Detroit stay in the game. Again, 6.5 is what's on the graphic. But even in just the last, half hour here as we're getting set up for the show, it's actually moved to 9, or jumped to 9, I should say. So maybe there's some injury news that, we can't see as of right now or something like that. But give me Detroit plus the points. Crazy, but they are way better against the spread team than their 2-11 record would dictate. All right, Indiana laying 5 at home against Orlando here. And I'll tell you what, Indiana obviously hasn't played in a while here. Last game was November 14th. They did beat Philadelphia. Orlando just played a couple nights back. They won 2 in a row, but against Chicago in 2 very low-scoring games. And now, I don't think Chicago is this defensive, stud, right, of a team. They aren't. And Orlando only scored 96 and then 103. And I know that we've seen some good games out of Orlando this season and everything like that, but if you're going to keep up with this Pacers team, you're going to have to score a boatload of points. And I do not see, Orlando being able to do that. This is a team that is going absolutely nuclear. The Pacers have scored 126.5 per game this season. You're like, well, that's probably because they're shooting the most in the league, right? Yes, they lead the league in field goal attempts. They're second in field goal percentage. So though they're playing fast, though they're shooting, the lights, or they're shooting a crazy quantity, they're also making these shots. Like this Pacers team, though their defense ain't really it, right? They're not a tough defense whatsoever. They're allowing the second most points per game in the league. They are absolutely legit when it comes to the offensive end. And I think Orlando, I've said it a couple times, their defense, little stale. They're still a good defense, but a little stale without Wendell Carter Jr. there. So give me the Pacers here minus the 5 points. I think we might even be able to get a better line if we look at, a little bit later. So I'll take the Pacers here minus whatever it is. I'd probably play it up to like 6. In terms of a total, 233.5, this is where I can actually see this one slowing down a little bit. So it kind of counters what I'm saying, but I do think that, Orlando's not going to be able to necessarily keep up with the Pacers. I could see this being a 120 to 110 type of a game where Orlando did everything they could to get to the top of the mountain, and their top of the mountain seems to be right around that number, which even if you look at their season, they have a couple games, 119, 120, but for the most part, their average high score is going to be like 108 to 112, right? So I don't think that they really breach that. The only thing that could maybe sway me is that Indiana's defense does allow a lot of points, but nonetheless, point being is that I think Indiana's going to have to, going to get out to the race and score a bunch of points, but late in this game, Indiana's not going to have to or want to up that tempo because they do have somewhat of a secure lead. So I like this game finishing right around 230. I'll still tell you guys, if I were to be giving you advice here, I think it's kind of silly to some degree to bet on an Indiana under, just because at any given moment they could have 150 points themselves. So, the analytics and my opinion on this game say an under is the spot, I doubt that I'm gonna even have the balls to play that, right? So main lean in this game is gonna be Indiana -5 for whatever it comes to be. All right, guys, if you're looking for more tools to help you beat the books, and look no further than OddsJam, and I mean that entirely. There's tons of tools out there. OddsJam is genuinely a one-stop shop if you want to mathematically dismantle sportsbooks and use their odds against one another. You know, it's like the Spider-Man meme. You have FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM all kind of looking at each other like this, because OddsJam is a great tool to compare all odds, get the best value out there, and find outliers in the market. So if we jump in here, I could show you. This is pretty much every play on a spread in every sportsbook offering, so you can know who has sort of the missed price line, and it's called positive EV betting. In fact, we can pop up that screen as well. Positive EV betting is very simple. All you have to do is find missed price lines. For example, Chuba Hubbard here, -130 on ESPN bet under 2.5 receptions for -130, right? The average sportsbook's odds are -157. Caesars -179. DraftKings -166. You know, Hot Streak -177. These are books that have the normal price because they're all in the same bucket, right? Well, ESPN bet -130, 40 cents off, you know, Caesars and that type of thing. It's a really, really cool way of betting, guys. And again, it's mathematically dismantling sportsbooks using their odds against them. Obviously, you trust, you know, the 5 sportsbooks that have it right versus the one that has it wrong, so you can take this play. They also have a really cool fantasy optimizer. So if you're on Prize Picks, if you're on Underdog, Parlay Play, any of those, you can find the best plays out there. And the good thing about this is that OddsJam is giving us 2 different deals. You can use the link in the pinned comment. You get 7 days free, right? That is great. And if you choose to continue with your subscription, you can use code GUYBOSTON to get 25% off your first month, guys. That link's in the pinned comment. Go try out OddsJam. You know, I have 2 major tools that I like to work with. This is the one when it comes to using odds, finding the best lines, and mathematically, again, beating the book. So go ahead and check out OddsJam. Let's go ahead and get back to the slate. All right, we do have Cleveland here taking on Denver, and this one is another one where I look at this line 2.5 and I'm like, really? Now I know that Jamal Murray has obviously been out for Denver, and it's clearly kind of hurt them to a huge degree. Like, it makes a lot of sense why all of a sudden they're starting to lose games, but still they only have 3 losses on the entire season. Cleveland, I will admit, is starting to get better, but their wins as of late, if you look at the strength of schedule of the wins that they've had, they haven't been that crazy. Like, their 2 most recent wins, they're 2 in a row, right? Portland and Detroit. Now, I think this Cleveland team is going to make a run later on in the year. They haven't really been fully healthy or fully meshed this season, so I'm not ragging on Cleveland here, but this is a Denver team that's coming off of a bad loss. When I say bad loss, a loss that they should have won, and I don't see them losing 2 in a row here, right? I get it that they're on the road, but they're going to be on the road for forever. They have like 4 more road games after this one, so it's not like they're like, oh man, we've been on the road for so long. Like, no, this is their 2nd road game. I don't think they're going to be fatigued there. Cleveland at the house here, also just 2-3 on the season. So yeah, give me Denver minus the points. Do you guys think it's a trap line? Let me know in the comments. This is interesting. I don't think Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell is out too, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to fact check that. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly here. Shout out to RotoWire for having look at this, guys. If you guys don't use this, it's just rotowire.com. You go to basketball, they have all the starting lineups and they give up-to-date in-out information. Boom, Donovan Mitchell is out. Like, what are we doing here? Denver -2. Come on. That may be a 2 or more unit play, but that's where I'm like, is it a trap? Am I about to blow a bankroll on this one? We'll see. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. In terms of a final total here, 216.5. That also seems a little off to me. I've seen this line at 217. I've seen this line at 216. So, you know, it's kind of hovering right around that spot. I think Denver gives you a decent amount of points today. I look at the over here as well, but again, both those lines I don't agree with, so I don't want to overthink it. There's some odds reading that has to go into this saying, all right, maybe Vegas knows something we don't, right? So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we roll with. I love Denver -2.5, but it seems so easy, doesn't it? Next up, we have Dallas, who is on a back-to-back taking on the Kings here. Kings come off that win that covered for us a couple nights ago against San Antonio. Actually, before we even get into this game, I do want to note that Cleveland and Denver game, right? That's very similar to when Cleveland kind of stunk at the beginning of the year and they played the Warriors. And I was like, why is it only a 1.5 or 2.5 spread? And I took Cleveland because I kind of faded myself. That could be the same spot here. Now, I like Denver, but I'm just letting you know, like, that line reading, if you're reading the lines and why it's only 2.5, it could be a spot for Denver. So you guys know I got to be transparent with you. Regardless if I'm betting Denver, I got to let you know, like, sort of where the context comes from in terms of why you might even consider Cleveland. But nonetheless, we got Dallas taking on Sacramento here. Total sitting at 248. 245.5. We'll start there. I'm not going to personally bet it, but I think you'd be silly to take the under. Dallas is on a back-to-back, but if you look at some of their back-to-back games this season, I wouldn't really be fearful of that. They had a high-scoring game against Orlando, good defense. They had another back-to-back in which they scored 130 against Washington. So yes, they might have some guys sit. I would keep an eye on that. You know, they have the Kyrie Irvings of the world that, you know, could just all of a sudden decide to sit out. But nothing really to note on the injury report here except Kevin Huerter is questionable. We'll see if he does end up playing. But nonetheless, guys, if everyone is playing, I think the over is probably the look here. Like I said, I don't end up pulling the trigger myself because I'm too much of a wimp to bet on a 245.5 total. But I don't see a world in which either defense here, and I'm being generous calling them defenses, either defense here stops the other. In terms of points per game, we'll start with field goal percentage actually. So Dallas's field goal percentage against, third worst in the league here, fifth worst in the league for Sacramento field goal percentage against. Sacramento's defense allowing the 10th most points in the entire league this season, and then Dallas allowing the 5th most points. So these are two defenses that it's like, yeah, ole, right? But they'll score a crap load of points on you, which is why I'm saying that I wouldn't necessarily fade the over here. In terms of a spread pick, Dallas is on a back-to-back. They've won their last 2 back-to-back games. I think Sacramento's playing really good basketball, but I kind of like Dallas to bounce back in a spot. They're playing really good basketball right now. Now, if one injury dictates this or, you know, happens, I think it's going to dictate this game. And that's not necessarily injury, but if Kyrie sits out, Luka sits out, they are on a back-to-back, right? I flip my pick to Sacramento. So I'm thinking a healthy Dallas team versus a healthy Kings team, and Dallas is at home after a long road trip here. I'll take Dallas. In terms of that, this is I talked about, you know, beginning, middle, and end of a road trip. This is literally the dead middle of a road trip for Sacramento as well. They've been really good on it, but their wins have been right? They've won 5 games in a row: Portland, OKC, Cleveland, Lakers, San Antonio. You could say what you want about OKC, and, you know, I just hyped up Cleveland. I think they're gonna be good by year's end. Dallas, the way they're playing right now, is the best team that they've seen in a while. So you know, Sacramento might be riding high. They got De'Aaron Fox back, but I think Dallas might punch him in the mouth if healthy tonight. But I don't hate the Sacramento side of things. Like I said, if one guy's out for Dallas, I'm over to Sacramento. These are two of my probably more favorite teams to watch in the entire league this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, forget sides or even total, if we could find some sort of a good, you know, same game parlay in this game, because a lot of points to be scored, meaning a lot of stats to be thrown around. And by the way, I read your comments. That same game parlay video will be coming soon. My strategy and how we've been so successful with plus money same game parlays this year. And even when we're losing them by like 1 rebound, right? So I have a strategy video coming for that. Let me know if you guys are excited in the comments. All right, Memphis hosting Boston, and yes, I am a very biased Celtics fan. I try and separate the two when it comes to betting. It doesn't always go according to plan, so maybe I'll tell you right up front like I always do. These are just my picks. I'm not an expert or anything like that, right? I do get biased to some degree with Celtics, and there may be a little bias in this one, but the Celtics are so much better than this Memphis team. They're only 7.5 point favorites on my sheet here. It's actually 9.5, so another blunder on this sheet, but I like the Celtics by 10 points here. I don't know if I personally bet it because this is just such like a spot in which you're like, yeah, obviously the Celtics win by double digits, and then lo and behold, they go out there and they win by like 8, you know what I mean? Like, still control the game, but not by 10, so I'll throw that out there. But again, I do think, you know, if you have a parlay going or something like that, Celtics money line's probably a good spot. Memphis is yet to get a home win, whereas the Celtics are actually 5-2 on the road this season. So I kind of like that spot for them. They don't have any real look-aheads right now. Next game is against Charlotte. In 3 days, they play Milwaukee, which could be kind of a look-ahead spot, but I'd be more concerned about them sleepwalking into that Charlotte game because they have Milwaukee next than I am about them sleepwalking into this Memphis game. So yeah, go ahead and give me the Celtics here minus the 9.5 points. Do I love the spread? No, but I can confidently do it just because they are such a better team than this Memphis team. Now, 222.5 seems like it could be a high total, just given the fact that, you know, does Memphis even have the ability to go out there and consistently put up half of that 111? I would normally say no. Like, they have more or less in terms of what they've been scoring. Their points per game this season has been right around that 108-ish area, and the Celtics team has an above average defense, so you'd think that 108 would drop down, but I don't think that Memphis's defense is anything great. So 222.5. Hopefully the Celtics can kind of pick up some of the dead weight there, and I don't mind an over hitting in this spot. I will say Celtics after last game are now 5-6-1 to the over this season. So you know, they haven't necessarily been cashing as many overs as we'd like to see in terms of how good that offense is. Utah taking on Phoenix. We had Phoenix -5 last time these two teams played was a couple nights ago. Same thing in Utah, right? Utah makes that game close. They lose, but they win against the spread here. Phoenix wins 131 to 128. I think Phoenix wins this game again. Yes, I'm a little concerned about the fact that they didn't cover against them last time, but this is such a better Phoenix team. We still haven't seen them fully healthy, but we do see Book and KD play in last game. Kevin Durant went for 38, 9, and 9. Booker went for 24, 15, and 4. There's nobody on the Jazz side of things that can really compete with that. Jordan Clarkson went for 37 points on 14 of 26. So he shot a boatload. He did make more than half his shots, so I'll give him credit, but does Jordan Clarkson really go for 37 again? Does anybody go for 30 plus on this Jazz team again? I don't think so. So that is sort of the outlier that you'll note, right? So give me the Suns here minus the 4.5. I actually like the fact that we did see them lose last game because I think it keeps the spread right where it is. So give me the Suns minus 4.5 points. Total sitting at 239, a little bit too high for me. Yes, we did just see a game in which, again, 131 to 128. So what is that, a 159 finish? But I just said a couple outliers on the Jazz side of things offensively, and I also don't think that Booker's going to get you 15 assists again. I don't know if Kevin Durant's going to go for near 40 points. Like, guys could have good games. Booker could have 25 again or 24 again. Kevin Durant could come back down to earth, have 29, and those assists drop, and they could still work the Jazz, win by 5 or more points, but they don't need to go out there and drop 240 as a collective unit. So I like the under ever so slightly. Portland taking on OKC. You'd think this is an easy spot. You got tons of injuries to look at for Portland. Obviously, Scoot's still out. Robert Williams out for season. Anthony Simons comes back sometime in December. Or Anthony Simons comes back sometimes in December. Malcolm Brogdon is questionable in this spot as well. And you have an OKC team that's actually only laying 6.5 points. It's moved a little bit here, and they're on fire here. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They've won 3 straight games, 2 games against Golden State recently. This is a good team, and I think they match up fairly well against this Portland team. And not that we really have seen the exact same teams. Both these teams look a hell of a lot different than last season, but dating back 2 years now, OKC is 8-0 against this Portland Trailblazers team. Doesn't matter if they're home or away or anything like that. I do think that OKC minus 6.5 points is a good spot. Now, I will admit this too, because like I've said a million times in this show, I do keep things pretty transparent with you guys. There's a lot, and there seems to be at least a lot of like trap type lines out there today, right? That Philly one seems weird to me. That Denver one seems weird to me. This OKC one seems like it could be a little bit higher. Like the Celtics laying 9.5 to Memphis. I think OKC to Portland laying a similar number. Not 3 points off. So again, maybe we're falling for traps today. Maybe all of a sudden we lay these seem like easy spots and we lose them all because Vegas knows better than us. But nonetheless, give me OKC minus the 6.5 points. Total sitting at 224 again. We screenshotted this a while ago. Lines have moved just a bit here. I like the under in this one because I don't really see where Portland's offense necessarily comes from. And this isn't me hyping up this Oklahoma City defense. It really isn't. They're a middle of the pack defense at best, but Portland is one of, if not the worst offense in the entire league. 30th in terms of ranking for points per game, 30th in field goal percentage. Field goal attempts, they're middle of the pack. They're just really not a great team. Like their offensive rebounding rate's good, but even their second chance points is terrible. So it's like they're getting these offensive rebounds, and then what, right? So that's the only sort of like offensive nugget I could find of like, hey, maybe they're a decent offense, right? Offensive rebounds, nice. They're the 30th team when it comes to assists as well. Like, I don't really see them carrying their weight for a 226. Now, can OKC go out there and score 130 themselves? Yeah, we've seen it. That could be the only thing that kind of throws a wrench in this. But give me the under as well as OKC. All right, Lakers at the house hosting Houston here. These two teams did play back, about 11, week and a half ago. I was going to say 11 days. Maybe that's not wrong. Right. 11 days ago or so. Houston wins that game 128 to 94. Like, they smoked them, right? I do think the Lakers have a little bit of revenge here, and it's crazy, guys. We're only, what would you say, in terms of these two teams, 10 to 13 games into the entire season, and we're already at the point where Anthony Davis and LeBron are both going to be on the injury report probably every single game this entire season, which is so annoying. Anthony Davis probable, LeBron is questionable, so we'll keep an eye on that. But if those guys play, I would think this line is saying that they will play. I do like the Lakers in a bounce back spot here. Now, I'm not necessarily backing the Lakers, but I do think this Houston team, we saw their run, and then they cover against the Clippers, but they lose that game. I think their run may be kind of coming to an end here, whereas the Lakers are on a little bit of a run themselves. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. The competition hasn't looked all that great, but I do think that this is a spot in which they can win by, 5 points. So I'll take the Lakers in this spot. Kind of begrudgingly. Like, I don't really love it. Again, Anthony Davis, we don't know if he's going to play. LeBron, we don't know if he's going to play. If those guys do play, though, I'll take the Lakers here. In terms of the total, I think the Houston Rockets will give you a similar score to what they had last time. Maybe not, what was it, 128, right? But I think they'll give you like 110. And if I think the Lakers win this game by 5 points, correlation here, you got to imagine over 218.5, right? So I'll take the over in this spot as well. Again, it's kind of like, you can probably tell my voice, this isn't like the best of matchups, but I do actually think that either of those plays have a decent chance of being a final play, weirdly enough. As I say, I don't really like the matchup, but the numbers are here on my side, and sometimes you can't ignore that. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you are still watching, go ahead and comment 25, and make sure you hit that damn subscribe button. If you're watching all the way through here and have not subscribed yet, you are absolutely crazy, but I love you for it. But now join the fam and subscribe. And again, make sure you guys go ahead and check out our Black Friday Cyber Monday deal that we have going on fademe.store. I'm wearing the Santa Drinks hoodie right now. We got it back there. That's the design on the back. A lot of cool stuff over there. Again, BF Hood to get a hoodie, but you get a hat 50% off by doing so. Go check it out, guys. That'll all be in the pinned comment. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.